Hi everyone. So today I will be discussing some of the main topics from our text, Organizational Communication, as they relate to my assigned case, A Problem of Power. I will be focusing my analysis of the case on the major theory of cultural approaches to organizational communication. I will also be discussing norms and communication roles, transformational leadership, the leadership of change, and internal communication. To provide a basic overview, the cultural approach is the idea that organizational behavior is influenced by the organization's internal culture and external cultures around the organization. The culture is said to define how organizational members view the organizational world around them. Culture is usually established by leadership. The concept of norms and communication roles involves two elements. First of all, norms are the unwritten behaviors or ways of doing things established in an organization. Communication roles are the roles that members take on to accomplish group goals, promote social support, or accomplish individual goals. These can fall into three categories: task roles, maintenance roles, and self-centered roles. Transformational leadership suggests that leaders transform situations through their example and ability to create vision. The leadership of change is the responsibility of organizational leaders to facilitate change. Leaders that truly support change promote creativity, experimentation, risk-taking, and innovation from employees to bring about change. Internal communication is the communication between an organization and its employees. This involves gathering employee input, communicating the organization's mission and strategies, and establishing structures for communication. Ultimately, leadership and organizational culture influence all of these different areas. Let me now give you a brief overview of the case. A Problem of Power is a story about organizational communication at a company called Footworld. The story follows Frank, a member of the production team, as he experiences changes that the company is making. Frank is dissatisfied with the changes and is unhappy that his input has not been considered and that the changes are being forced upon him. The company's CEO decided to implement cross-functional teams in order to combat some issues that the company has been facing. Frank is not the only employee that is upset. Much of what we see in the case is complaining and frustration from the employees, many of whom spread gossip about their frustrations with the company and with one another. So how do the concepts I'm focusing on fit into the case? First of all, culture. Culture is set by the organization's leaders. What we see in this case is a culture of dissatisfied conformity that promotes organizational gossip. The employees in the organization conform to the decisions made by leadership, albeit quite unhappily. The culture portrayed throughout this case is a very negative environment in which decisions are made without considering employee input and where gossip and complaining run rampant. The norms are easy to spot in this case, as I would imagine they are in most organizations. The most obvious norms in this case are complaining and gossip. Complacency can also be identified in the case. The employees don't want to deal with change. They would rather have things the way that they always have been, even though the changes could bring about better ways of handling situations and could solve some of the organization's problems. The communication roles seen in the case are those of Frank, the main character, and Lester Charleston, the CEO. Through his complaining, Frank takes on the self-centered role of attacker. The CEO of the company takes on the role of leader, although he does not do it very well. Transformational leadership is absent in the case. Charleston is anything but a transformational leader. He dictates change rather than involving employees, setting an example, or establishing a vision. When it comes to the leadership of change, this too is handled poorly. The company does not consider employee input or promote creativity. Instead, they enforce prefabricated change. Finally, the case provides a strong example of internal communication, or a lack thereof. The internal communication that takes place between the organization and employees is Charleston's announcement at a company-wide meeting of the changes he plans to make. Charleston communicates very little with employees and is seen doing so very few times in the rest of the case. The lack of internal communication results in Charleston not actually being aware of what's going on in the company, and the employees being very dissatisfied. A lot could be improved in this case if leadership was taken more seriously. The culture, norms, and internal communication would improve if a leader was willing to stand up and identify the changes and fulfill the role of a good leader. Ultimately, this shows that leaders have a lot of influence over organizational communication and culture. All organizations possess some sort of culture, whether good or bad, that is heavily influenced by the organization's leader. The culture affects how employees interact and how they handle change. It is important for all of us, as we consider management positions or business leadership, that we realize the importance of leadership in an organization. Thank you.